Hey guys, Magic here. I hope you'll bear with me. My child accidentally broke my phone in such a way that it will no longer sit in the tripod correctly. So I'm gonna have to hold this myself until I can get that fixed. Um, anyway, I want to talk about the psychological abuse topic, and I know that I've talked about this a lot recently. You're probably like, just shut up about it. But I do think it's important for people to become educated or to know or even just to share stories so other people know that they're not alone. For a long time, I didn't even realize that I was being abused that way. I didn't even know that was a way somebody could be abused for the longest time. I just thought that, if they're not beating me, then they can't be abusive and they're not necessarily a bad person. We just didn't get along. For a long, I didn't understand the depths of what it was doing to me or any of that. I just thought that, I knew something was wrong because I was depressed and suicidal, and I felt like I couldn't keep going on like this, but couldn't quite put my finger on what was happening to me. So with the new knowledge that I have and all that, it's helped me a lot to piece that together. And at some point I did become aware of psychological abuse, and I began to kind of realize that was happening, but I didn't realize how deep it ran until more recently. I felt like when I was in those relationships where it was more about the psychological aspect versus just physically being beaten. Sometimes I've even stated that a few times I think I would rather be beaten than have someone play mind games with me or play with my emotions, because that's a lot more long lasting. That's a lot more detrimental. Physical wounds will heal and you may remember it, and sometimes you'll have lasting damage from that, but it still heals better, and in my opinion, and it's a lot easier to get over than mind games and emotions. But when I was in those relationships, and even after, when I initially had left and was trying to figure out what I was doing, I felt like I was in sort of emotional chaos. I was anxious all the time. I was always afraid and paranoid. I was super depressed, and like I said, suicidal. I had suicidal ideations, self-harming. Felt like, I just can't keep doing this. I don't know what this is, but I just can't keep going on like this. It was kind of like that prayer I made the day before I found out I was pregnant with my oldest son. I basically said I was done. I told God, I'm going to probably die one way or the other, whether it's by him or by me, but I need a reason to live if you want me to keep going, because I don't see a reason. I just don't see a reason for this, and I need there to be a reason. So either give me a reason to stick around or I'm out. And next I found out I was pregnant, so touche. I guess he gave me the reason. But it's very important that if you are going through this phase where you feel like you just can't keep going on, no matter what you just know that something is wrong, you just can't keep going on this way, it's important that you do not harm yourself and that you seek help. There are hotlines for that. You can always reach out to a friend, family member, to someone that'll understand. You could even reach out to me if you wanted. I'm not an expert, but I could, at least talk to you, give you someone just to vent to. But I do recommend that you call hotline if you are in serious danger. I know that this time can feel very scary, not just because right now it's October where I'm at, or when I'm recording this rather, but it is a scary season to be in because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know, everything feels unfamiliar. You feel like you've lost yourself. There's a lot of emotional chaos, and that can cause you to feel like you're barely keeping your head above water, but you need to keep putting one foot in front of the other and just keep going. I know that, if you are going through this, that you probably on some level have learned to hate yourself, and that's an awful place to be in too. I know, because I spent years hating myself, and I'm just now getting to a point where I'm starting to like and even love myself. It's a process, but you got to take care of you and remember that your worth isn't based upon what they think or what they want from you. And you're not the problem. You're not broken. You are good enough. You are worthy. You are loved. And I believe in you. You have other people who believe in you. You got this. You have a strong emotional capacity, and I know that can be a double-edged sword, because the more that you are able to take emotionally, the more you're able to bounce back and recover, and that can be good for you in your healing process. But I know that during this time that you were with that person, it was probably used against you as a way to keep you there, or as an assurance that, you would be able to handle whatever they threw at you. But now that you're healing, now that you're on this journey, it can be a great strength in this recovery process. I know that your soul feels heavy and exhausted, and I know that you probably feel this deep sorrow in your soul. I know this because I felt it too. I felt that deep sorrow of feeling like I've lost myself, like I don't even know who I am. Sometimes I still feel that, because there are days where I still feel that way, like I lost who I was, and I don't even remember. Sometimes it's hard for me to remember who that person was at all. Sometimes it's hard for that person to shine through, and I feel like there's days where I just feel like I've lost or lost myself, and I'm exhausted, and I don't feel like I can keep going on because the mental strain is just so hard. So I know that it's a soul-crushing exhaustion, and that you feel like you can't keep going, but you can. Things will get better. You're already living in hard, and so do it anyway. It's going to be hard, but you're already there, so keep going. And because of this mind-body connection, you might also be suffering some physical ailments, which is a thing. Yeah, I mean, our mind and body are connected. If our mental well-being is being compromised, it will eventually affect our physical well-being. And once we can fix what's going on inside of here, we can fix what's going on inside of here. Because if we try to fix this first, instead of fixing this, or we can do both at the same time, but if we fix this and not this, this isn't going to stay better. But if we fix this, we can definitely fix this and keep it better. And if we fix them both at the same time, or work on them both at the same time, at least the improvements should last. They will last. I know a few times I had to choose between myself and my abuser, and sometimes I didn't know what I was going to choose. And sometimes I even chose to go back. And you know what? That's okay. That's okay if that's where you're at. Sometimes we need to know for sure that we're making the right decision before we make it. And sometimes that means that we have to go back. Sometimes that means we need to figure it out for ourselves. But know you're not alone, and that there are people here rooting for you, and that you don't have to stay. You can find yourself again away from them. You can choose yourself. You can do things for yourself without them. You're not reliant on somebody else. You only need yourself and your own love. I know that life right now doesn't seem like it's very pretty. You feel lost, and you don't know if there's anyone that you can talk to. And sometimes we know what we don't want to share. For a long time, I hid. I didn't want anyone to know what was happening. I never told anybody about anything. And I found that to be very detrimental. All that did was prolong my suffering and keep me a victim. But now that I'm a survivor, I feel like it's important that we talk, that we have these discussions. Because if we do not have these discussions, how are we going to help others heal? How are we going to find ourselves? How are we going to out this type of abuse, this type of abuser, when it's not commonly known? And most people don't even recognize it as a form of abuse because they haven't suffered the effects of it. How are we going to bring awareness to this if we don't talk about it? And I know that a lot of people won't take this seriously. I know that some people will be like, oh, well, psychological games and mind games and abuse, that's not real abuse, because it doesn't leave scars or whatever. And there's some people that won't even recognize it because they know the people, and they're like, oh, well, they would never, or it can't be the same person that we know, because they're very charismatic and they're very good at hiding what they do. So I know that it's going to be hard, but you have to keep going. Take it one day at a time. And while I don't recommend being angry, because anger can be a bad thing if you let it go out of control, but it can also be good. in the sense that it can propel you forward. It can push you forward to make the changes that you need to. So yeah, you need to be angry, but a healthy level of angry. Just angry enough to push yourself forward, to keep going, to keep trying to better your life, to find something better, because there is better, to heal yourself, because you're not going to do it if you're not a little bit angry about your current situation. So keep going. Use that anger to your benefit. Use it to push you forward. Use it to reach your goals. But don't let it overtake you. Don't let it overwhelm you. Do not let it control you. Anyway, guys, I just wanted you to know that I'm here for you. And if any of you are feeling this soul level despair, or if you feel like this is something that you have experienced, let me know in the comments. And I hope that this has been helpful. Go out and spread the love, because love always wins. Me and Shotgun are rooting for you.